Chainsaw History Time.
Welcome to Chainsaw History, everybody. This is the Value Tales series, where my sister Bambi reads me cheesy children's biographies from the 1980s. I am your co-host, Jamie Chambers, and as mentioned, this is my sister Bambi.
Hello.
And we are once again out of studio and recording DIY style in Bambi's bedroom.
Yes, once again, brought to you from my bedroom.
But what a
With
perfectly cozy
The
place.
Paw Dog.
But it's a nice cozy place for a bedtime story about
The Mayo Brothers.
the Mayo Brothers, the inventors of mayonnaise.
Not quite.
Oh, I must have gotten that one wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's in my continuing series of fuck RFK Jr. and everything that he stands for. So.
Wait, the Mayo Brothers are the ones who go down a big pipe and then go to a mushroom kingdom and fight a dinosaur turtle that breathes fire.
No, those are the Mario Brothers.
Damn.
Mario Brothers.
I've got a lot to learn today.
You've got a lot to learn today about the Mayo Brothers. There's a clinic that many people have heard of.
Yes, the Mayo Clinic. Let's talk about the cover real quick.
Oh yeah, the cover's pretty special, Jamie.
Well, speaking of mayonnaise, two very generic-looking white guys. Even though one of them seems to have red eyes for some reason, they're both wearing big green gloves, and they're standing in front of just a big-ass building that looks maybe like a hospital.
Yeah, well, they're wearing their lab coats.
They're in doctor gear.
They're in their doctor gear, and
And one of them has blue shoes.
one of them has clamps. They have masks.
Yeah,
Look, Jamie, they have masks.
Don't you know that masks are bad for you and completely unnecessary?
Yeah. Well, people still like them for surgery.
Weird.
Yeah, weird.
I was told that masks don't spread germs.
So, William Mayo was born 1861, and Charles Mayo was born 1865.
So this is back when, like, being a doctor was still a little early before the way we consider it in modern times.
Yeah, and the fact that they don't give you the time period feels weird.
And and despite all my jokes, I am a little bit familiar with the Mayo Brothers and the Mayo Clinic and all of that.
So, as we always like to start true stories, once upon a time.
Yep, this is all made of bullshit.
Not so very long ago, there were two young brothers named Will and Charlie Mayo. Will and Charlie lived in a little town in Minnesota where their father was a country doctor. They loved to ride across the prairie with him when he made his calls.
Oh, they're from Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Well, they're all God-fearing people there, don't you know?
Yeah, they are. They were proud and happy whenever the busy doctor helped a sick person feel well. But Dr. Mayo couldn't always help. Once, when the boys came home after they had been out with their family, they felt very sad. "What's the matter?" their mother asked. "Last week, Dad operated on a boy to try to save his life," said Charlie. "Well, Dad couldn't save him. He got an infection," Will added, "and Dad couldn't stop the infection."
He has pre-antibiotics, so...
Yep, so I'll show you the pictures of the urchins.
Oh, they're sad. There was all the blood and guts, and then he died.
He just died.
Their mustachioed father.
Yep. So the mustachioed dad came in, and he was like, "Yeah, it's really hard to stop infections. Don't know how that happens." And the mom's like, "Just a minute. I have to get something." And then she went out, and she was smiling, and why do you suppose she was smiling at a time like this?
Because her husband's a doctor, and she has access to groovy drugs.
Why, she was smiling because she had just thought of a way to help her husband.
Oh.
Yeah, so anyway.
It's not the laudanum.
No. See, he's always out doing his doctorly shit, so he has his wife on top of her other, wifely duties and, house duties. She's reading medical journals.
Oh.
So she was like, "Hey, there's this dude named Louis Pasteur. And you...
Crossover to previous episode.
Right? See? Making connections of fuck RFK Jr.
Yeah, germ theory. It's a whole thing. Germ
theory. So, the doctor, he was really intrigued. And they were like, Oh, well, we can't really afford to move to New York to study under Louis Pasteur. And she was like, fuck it, we're going to make it happen. So the family packs up and they move more than 1,000 miles to New York.
Tell you what, mister, we are going to move to New York no matter what you had to say about it.
In New York, Dr. Mayo joined other doctors who were working at Bellevue Hospital. He used a microscope to study the germs that caused infections. He learned that germs can't live in very clean places, and that boiling things in hot water can kill germs that are there. Most important, he learned what to do to stop germs from causing infections during an operation.
Like the idea of actually cleaning your instruments and washing your fucking hands and
Yeah.
and sanitizing things and sterilization, because again, it's pre-antibiotics. But he also learned from Louis Pasteur that there's magical see-in-the-dark soldiers that you can inject inside little toys to fight the disease.
Yeah, to fight the rabies. So Dr. Mayo shared what he learned with his wife and the boys. We are making wonderful progress. But we should have medical equipment, especially a microscope. If only microscopes didn't cost so much money. So once again, Mrs. Mayo said, fuck it. We'll just borrow money from the house and you can buy whatever you need and we'll go back to Minnesota. Because what they don't say in this is he had malaria. So he needed a really dry climate and shit.
So you go to the land of 1,000 lakes. Even though, it's not as humid in Minnesota. It's true.
Yeah, it's a lot drier. So
I lived Minnesota adjacent for many years.
So they moved. Oh, Jamie, you've got to check this out, though.
Oh, cool. I don't understand why he needs a microscope, considering the germs are the size of my fist.
Yeah, right. I mean, and they're evil looking. It seems like it's like, take those motherfuckers out.
Bat-winged demons. Like, yes, you should boil those in water.
Well, everyone else looks on and ooh.
They're like, ooh, wow. Well, they're waiting for their turns.
Look at all these mustachioed motherfuckers.
They're in a queue. All of them want to look at these little gremlins.
I like the ones with the mullets. They're my favorite. But they have the fancy upturned mullet.
All but what? See, all but two have glorious mustaches.
Mm-hmm. But man, those mustaches, they're pretty glorious.
So these kids were doomed to become doctors. Their dad was a doctor and their mother was constantly reading them medical journals for bedtime stories. And
shit. Well, see, this is the kind of grooming that we find acceptable because it's being groomed into
doing something useful and helpful to humanity.
Yeah, it's, this is how children used to do things, it's like you either get born into it or you get apprenticed off to learn different occupations. This is occupational grooming, which is okay as long as there's no sexual shit involved.
Yeah, both of their parents loved medicine and all this shit was going on as they were growing up, so naturally they're interested in learning all about it.
Dr. Mayo got a microscope. Look how happy these motherfuckers are.
So now we see the eye magnified into a giant eyeball at the bottom of the microscope as you look at this stinking pile of whatever the fuck that is.
I know. It still seems like they didn't need the microscope too much, but whatever.
Well, that just looks like... I think that's actually what they're looking at. Like that's old leftovers, and they're looking at the germs in the microscope, because that just looks like a pile of goop.
Yep. So the boys were very excited, and the doctor let them look in the microscope, and he was like, you got to be careful. This shit's expensive.
You break this, I break you, kid.
Mm-hmm. So, but, again, grooming. So they were cool.
They get to see little microscopic bugs. They're like, woo.
So the boys were careful, and they learned to use a microscope before other children learned the multiplication tables. The other thing they did while they were still very young, a thing that surprised many people, what do you think it was? They often watched their father operate, and they helped him when they could.
Well, I was assuming that from the first part. You're like, yeah, we watched Dad operating this kid.
And then he fucking dropped Dad. Oh my God.
So yes, they're watching live surgeries as little boys.
Yeah, and not just like helping 6 people, but he's like, no, come in here.
Hey, Will, Charlie, hold this guy down while I get this saw.
There were no hospitals in southern Minnesota at the time, so Dr. Mayo often performed operations on kitchen tables.
Eh?
The boys were so small that they had to stand on wooden boxes to see what their father was doing, and even when they were young, their dad talked to them as if they were grown. He shared his knowledge with them and explained exactly what was going on. Oh my goodness, did I even say that it was the value of sharing? Because it's very important.
Yes.
They're going to talk about it a lot in a few minutes.
This is the value of
The
sharing.
value of sharing.
And so far, the dad is sharing the glory of watching their father take bone saws to screaming people on their dining room table. Because, again, they're talking about surgery, but surgery in the late 1800s was mostly amputations and very primitive shit by today's standards. He wasn't exactly, performing organ transplants or anything.
Yeah, although they did have anesthesia, and what they don't need
like ether.
Yeah, and one of the menial tasks that their father gave him was like administering anesthesia. Was one of their jobs.
I love having an 11-year-old anesthesiologist. It always just gives me that confidence right before a procedure. And then also remember how unregulated and crazy everybody was with drugs back then. These kids could get high whenever the fuck they wanted.
Right, and so, which when you say they can get high whenever the fuck they wanted, it might make this next part make a little more sense. So, quote. Okay. Most of the time, the boys were proud to be helping their father, but sometimes they didn't pay strict attention. They were like most children, after all, and at times they daydreamed a bit. It was during one of those daydreaming times when their father was operating and talking to them, and they weren't paying much attention, that something very odd happened. A pair of ordinary surgical scissors suddenly seemed to have 2 twinkling eyes, which were staring straight at the boys.
If they tell this to their doctor or father, they might be sent to a very unpleasant place.
Look at them. They look like they were dipping into the ether.
Well, it's like, they're looking at together, so they have a shared hallucination fueled by drugs of a pair of surgical shears gaining sentience.
The fumes begin to them. So, quote, I must be seeing things, thought Will. A pair of scissors is looking at me, Charlie said to himself. And then something even stranger happened.
Oh dear, is this a good trip or a bad trip? We're about to find out.
The scissors began to talk. Hi, boys, it seemed to say. My name is True Sides. I'd like to be your friend. Wow, thought the boys. That would be really neat. There's so many questions.
Like before, it's always been one person with their pretend friend. So now this is a shared hallucination between these boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Possibly while administering anesthesia.
Yeah. So there's nothing but good times ahead. How does this pair of scissors, contribute to the story of Will and Charlie?
I will tell you, quote, they seem to be more than a little puzzled. How come you're called True Sides? They asked. That's a funny name. Not for me, said the scissors. Have you ever seen scissors that could cut with only one blade? Of course not. Each side has to help the other. It's called sharing. It's also called cooperation and working together. But I'd like to think of it as sharing.
Yeah, nothing says sharing like a pair of scissors, which is designed to cut things into pieces. Okay, sure, buddy.
Okie dokie. The only thing they seem to be sharing are hallucinations.
I think we need more drugs for this to make any fucking sense.
Quote, your dad is sharing right now, True Sides went on. He explained this operation to you, so he's going to be doing his part, isn't he? What about you? Are you doing your part? Are you paying attention?
Yeah, I'm holding this rag over this guy's face while Dad cuts him open.
The boys were silent for a moment. They knew they hadn't been listening to their father. I see, said Will at last.
Yeah,
They are
they're busy hallucinating a pair of fucking talking scissors.
There are two sides to sharing. One is giving, the other is receiving. It's like talking and listening, said Charlie.
Pitching and catching.
Just look at these two. They've definitely been dipping into the ether.
Oh, dear.
As well as the scissors. The scissors look high as fuck.
Please tell an adult if the scissors tell you to hurt people.
So far, he's just telling them to shut up and listen.
Yeah, your father's trying to share his boundless knowledge with you, you little ungrateful shits. Don't make me cut you.
But before True Sides could say anything, Will and Charlie heard a very real voice. Boys, their father shouted, please pay attention. So yeah, they got yelled at for, not doing what they're supposed to do.
For talking to the scissors instead of listening to Dad?
Yeah.
Sure.
Boys, take the ether rag off. You're all gonna die. So after...
Daddy, my scissors say I don't have to listen to you anymore.
After that, the boys remembered what True Sides had said, and they listened to him very carefully during the rest of the operation. And then when they weren't watching their father, they had to also go to school. And so they did that, and they didn't always listen. And they probably snuck in drugs, because their imaginary friend scissors was there.
Their house is full of drugs, but luckily they can take their scissors with them to school.
I love the multiracial classroom in the 1800s. That's
I absolutely am sure they had a black school mistress.
Short.
In late 1800s Minnesota.
Yeah, there's also a black child.
Yeah.
You can see it. I mean, she's facing backwards.
The Civil War was over. We'd solved racism. Okay?
Oh, okay. So they became friends with the scissors, and they snuck into the circus. What? And then,
I bet they didn't even buy the scissors a ticket.
Yeah, and they're talking about the animals. When Will and Charlie and True Sides reached the big circus tent, little Charlie saw something that puzzled him. Can you guess what it was? See, now, first of all, why are we going to the circus? Based on this,
what puzzled him?
Why are we going to the circus?
I see a number of things that puzzle me right now. Probably with the naked guy with the turban on top of the elephant.
With a leaf on his head.
Unfortunate clowns in the foreground.
I mean, the clown that's way bigger than the elephant.
The stilt clown.
Yeah.
And then...
Man, he's tall.
Tiger in a cage.
So much. I like the dog in a stroller with a party hat.
Yeah.
So I guess the scissors fit right into the circus.
So what was he puzzled about? Because
what are we puzzled about?
Thing.
Clown after clown was scrambling to get out of a tiny house. I don't understand, said Charlie. Where are they all coming from? But before True Sides could answer, the boys heard their mother calling them from outside the circus tent. Will, Charlie, come quick. Your father wants you. The boys forgot about the circus, and they reached off to meet their father at the home of the town blacksmith. So you know what?
I am glad.
None of this made any fucking sense and didn't need to be.
I am really glad we went to the circus because that taught us important things.
Something important. Do you guess what it was? No. We never figured it out.
The book doesn't tell you.
How do those fucking clowns get out of the house?
I love the writing of this series. It's just nothing has to matter.
So they went to the blacksmith, and you can take a piece of metal, and you can heat it, and you can pound it into what you like. And I'm going to need some special instrument for your wife's operation. So the blacksmith's wife needs an operation.
And then he has to make the tools
himself. And the blacksmith
himself.
Is going to make some fucking specialized tools to help save his wife.
That sucks. It's like, the pressure's on you. You fuck this up, your wife's dead.
Yep. My boys are here now, and my wife will come help. And the other doctors will assist in the operation. Everything will be all right. You'll see. So all these other doctors came. The kids looked and fucking had the ether. Their scissor friend was there. So was mom. It was a whole cozy situation.
Everybody's like, the poor woman's naked and splayed out on the dining room table.
Yep.
It's like, oh, yes.
I do like this motherfucker over here. This Einstein-looking dude. He's like Brown Einstein.
I don't know. Here's a little curlier. I'm thinking more of a Welcome Back Kotter kind of vibe from this guy.
I mean, we can't see it. Maybe it's a Hitler stash. You can only see half of his face. So much going on. Okay.
So did the chick live?
When the boys saw the blacksmith's happy smile, they knew they too wanted to be doctors and help people like their father did. So, yep, the blacksmith made the specialized tools, and Dad performed the operation with the help of Mom, his kids, and then with some other fucking doctors watching on instead of doing things, which is kind of upsetting.
Did the blacksmith like make a girlfriend for their scissors?
So much going on. So the boys wanted to become doctors, and they started reading. I'm glad you're reading Charles Dickens stories, said Dr. Mayo to Will. Dickens knows a lot about people and how they feel. As he grew up, Will learned that it took more than reading to become a doctor. He had to work and make money so that he could go to medical school. Because Dad kept, Mom kept fucking getting all kinds of shit for Dad, so...
Yeah, well,
like, you're going to have to work your way through college, boys. Sorry.
Back when that was possible.
Yeah, that was the thing. So, Will got a job working in a drugstore after school. He swept and dusted. He also learned how to make all kinds of medicines, and he saved money. One evening, when he was almost ready to leave for medical school, he didn't go straight home after work. He headed to the general store, and there he met his mother, father, and Charlie. Now what, said True Sides. I'm going to buy Charlie a new suit, said Will, and he did. So his brother bought him a new suit so he could go to college. Yes. I can't believe it, said Charlie as he stared at himself in the mirror. A brand new suit. I've never had a new suit. I mean, they really should have stopped giving away their money so that they could afford clothes for the kids. But, maybe I'm wrong.
They're super generous. I love that now that they're college age, they still have their scissors friends.
Their scissor friend stays with them. Yeah. It feels good, doesn't it, when you share with someone, whispered True Sides. So his brother bought him a suit. They all felt really good. They all went off to school to become doctors. After many years of hard work, Will graduated from medical school. He was happy to help his father care for sick people all over the country. Everyone in town began to call him Dr. Will, because Dr. Mayo was already taken.
Yeah, we already had one Dr. Mayo, so we had Dr. Will and Dr. Charlie. And again, the germs are little demons.
Yeah, and he's got his little scissors.
And the scissors are sort of floating behind his head. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those germs look really fucked up.
Gee, Will, said Charlie. Now I can drive around with you just the way we used to go around with Dad. Charlie was very proud of his brother, Will. On a hot summer day, Charlie and Dr. Will had been out seeing patients in the country. They stopped the carriage when they noticed the sky was growing dark. The wind had stopped and everything was strangely quiet. What is it? Whispered Charlie. He sounded scared. Look, Will pointed out, a tornado. Charlie saw a funnel-shaped cloud off in the distance. Hee up, cried Will, as he whispered the horse into action. We'll be home. We'll be safer in town, he cried. Hee up. I'm not making that.
Hee up.
Yup. I didn't know that's how you...
The horse looks absolutely terrified of this tornado situation. He's like, Jesus Christ, we're all gonna die.
I mean, the boys are like, hey, look at that.
They're like, this is cool. Meanwhile, the horse is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We're so screwed.
We're fucked. So...
Horse is the only...
They raced for cover over a bridge and into town, and the tornado, chased them down. Charlie and Will reached the far side of the bridge just an instant before the vicious wind hurled the bridge up into the air. Timbers shattered into chips and pieces as they smashed to the ground near the two brothers.
Holy shit, this got dramatic.
The brothers were blown out of their carriage when the wind screamed past them.
Well, the horse was killed instantly.
They were swept down Main Street of Rochester like two leaves blown from a tree. The tornado raced across the town. It smashed buildings. It tossed wreckage into the air. Then, as suddenly as it came, the storm sped away across the countryside. I didn't know they sped away. I thought they dissipated, but, this one ran off.
Yeehaw! I'm out of here. See ya, fuckers!
No, it's not yeehaw. It's he up.
Yep. That's what you say to the dead horse.
I mean, look at this.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! We got a
It's
twister-like
like I said,
situation here.
these guys are on constant drugs. They're fine. But yeah, that horse is dead. The horse is going into the twister with a shitload of bricks.
Yeah, he's got the carriage
horse.
coming after him. He's like, oh, I'm so fucked. Poor horse. R.I.P. Charlie and Will had been blown up against a building. They looked around amazed. Somehow they had not been hurt, but there were lots of injured people all around them.
Sounds like somebody needs a doctor.
So Dr. Will and Charlie set to work to help the people that were hurt. Dr. Mayo came running. The town hall was turned into an emergency hospital. Temporary beds were set up. A group of nuns acted as nurses, and everyone else in town pitched in and helped. But the town hall wasn't very clean. Some of the wounded people got infections. Some died. We need a hospital, said one of the sisters after the tragedy was over. We need a place where we can take care of people who are sick and hurt. Indeed we do, agreed Dr. Mayo. We will raise the money and build the hospital, said the sisters, if you and your sons will be the doctors.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like the Catholic Church is like, we got a little money lying around.
I mean, look at this nun, dude.
She is extremely pleased by all the death and destruction.
Look at her eyes.
She's bug-eyed underneath those glasses.
And again, it's like, I do like how they made the Mayo Brothers like the whitest people in town, which I think is funny.
Surrounded by all these
in Minnesota,
kindly black folk, black nuns.
True sides grinned. That's another good thing about sharing. It makes the work easier. So the nuns raised money, and it took some time to build the hospital. But when they were done, Dr. Will and Dr. Mayo took care of the people.
Uh-huh.
It's like sometimes people couldn't pay. They paid with apples, and some couldn't pay at all. They paid with this dude paid with a chicken. And he was like, don't worry, we only want to help you get better. And that's why he couldn't afford suits for his kids. Yeah. I mean, it almost seems more about like their dad's more of a sharer.
It's like, don't worry.
But, you know,
one day, a corrupt and horrible healthcare system will make sure that you make shitloads of money as a doctor.
So, yeah. When Charlie came home from medical school, he found many patients were coming to his father and brother for help. He laughed for the first time when one of his patients called him Dr. Charlie. That sounds pretty good, he said to Trueside. So now we got 3 doctors.
Yep. Like Dr. Mayo, Dr. Will, and Dr. Charlie, and now a hospital that they can all work in.
Yep. With chickens. They get paid in chickens. But look how happy that farmer is with his bill paid. It's a paid bill.
Hell yeah. That chicken's like, I'm so happy.
I'm gonna get to be soup.
Yeah, the chicken's like, oh, God, finally a nice home where they're gonna love me and take care of me.
We're gonna give you a nice hot bath. After the hospital opened, the 3 Mayo doctors were able to help even more people. Dr. Will and Dr. Charlie had learned the newest and best methods of scientifically treating patients. Their father, however, also knew how important it was for a good doctor to be aware of patients' feelings too. So they were like, hey, we're going to kill the germs. He was like, we also need to, care about these fucking people's well-being.
Yeah. Watch the movie Patch Adams.
Which, again, the more I read about the Mayo Brothers, the more I like Mayo Dad. He seems pretty groovy. He's so far done all the sharing. Never forget that we're taking care of people, he would say. There's more to pay attention to than just their sickness. Soon people were coming to the Mayos from all over Minnesota. And they used carbolic acid to kill all the germs in the surgery rooms. Almost no one ever dies because of infection in a hospital in Rochester.
They're like, hey, it's pretty cool to not die. Oh, look, so we get a whole...
He's spraying them down like it's rape.
It's like, yeah. germs the size of small dogs, being hit by this magic Lysol.
Look at this.
That one is like, oh, God! It burns us!
So yeah, it's like killing germs is great. No one dies at our hospital, but we also care about our patients' overall well-being because we're not pieces of shit.
Hooray!
Hooray! Doctors and nurses came from nearby towns. They wanted to see just how the Mayos were able to help so many people. That's funny, said True Sides. You used to stand on boxes and watch your dad operate. Now the doctors are standing on boxes to watch you. Yeehaw.
Full circle.
Yep.
Thanks.
Whatever.
Thanks, magic scissors.
Yes.
You can always count on you.
Their hospital basically became a teaching hospital.
Yeah, because everybody wanted to know, how do you make your patients not get sick and die after a procedure?
And again,
easier to get paid.
Let's look at these doctor motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, well, so they're all crowded around.
Mm-hmm. It's multiracial,
breathing all over the patient.
Oh, these guys not only have the mustachios, they've got the whole mustachio beard, fucking and they've got the Friar Tuck look.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
But they make sure there's enough room for the magic scissors to watch as well.
Yeah, well, the magic scissors have to see what's going on.
They're not sharing enough.
But the Mayo brothers realized that there were things that they didn't know. Things they had to find out. Why don't you and I take turns traveling, said Will to Charlie one day. One of us can stay home and look after our patients, and the other one visits the best hospitals and the best doctors in the world. Then the one who's traveling can come home and share what he's learned. That way we can keep learning and be better doctors. So Charlie thought that was a great idea.
And that is paired with a scene of him. I guess he's fishing off of a boat while traveling.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's
U.S. Ocean Queen. I love the sun that's happily sinking into the ocean.
Well, it's on the coast as he leaves it behind for his medical adventures.
Yep. So they start traveling the world to learn medicine.
Cool.
Okay, so they traveled around the world, but more people went to go see them in Rochester.
Yeah.
Then
it turns out they had more to offer than the rest of the world had to offer them.
Well, I mean, they would travel the world, figure it out, come back, teach other doctors.
Yep.
And look at these important looking they're top-hatted motherfuckers.
Yeah, the fancy folk are now coming to hear their lectures.
Mm-hmm. Not just country doctors.
Oh, so yeah, they broaden their knowledge, and then their hospital, as a result, has become the best one. Because it's the cumulative knowledge of all of these different places. Because, yes, one of the things, that they're not saying, speaking of the value of sharing, is that back then, the practice was that doctors guarded their trade secrets and didn't typically like to share knowledge with each other.
Yeah.
And the Mayo brothers are one of the whole reasons that changed.
Yep. So they started talking to people and sharing their knowledge. Charlie always talked in a slow, friendly way. He sounded a lot like his famous friend, Will Rogers.
Crossover from future episode.
Future Will Rogers episode. And also, like Will Rogers, Charlie Mayo had a good sense of humor. One nice thing about sharing knowledge, he said to True Side's delight, is after you give it to someone else, you still have it. Now people from all around the world are coming to visit them. The doctors came from all around the world and accepted Charlie's invitation. They came to Rochester to see how he and Will worked. There were no wooden boxes in the operating rooms now. Instead, there were mirrors over the operating tables, and there were seats so the visiting doctors could be comfortable.
So they created the surgical viewing area just because so many people were wanting to come and watch them cut people up.
And they looked up into the mirrors to see exactly what was going on. The seats could slide from one side to another so the visitors could move when Will and Charlie during an operation.
That's right. That way they could learn surgical techniques by watching directly. It's,
While also staying kind of the fuck away.
And hopefully we're less horny for each other than an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
I'm sure.
All these mustachioed dudes getting all worked up and...
Ugh. I feel bad for these multiracial nurses. The fame of the Mayo Brothers spread. Surgeons were coming from Europe and South America to spend weeks watching Will and Charlie, learning what they knew.
Well, they're the super Mayo Brothers.
Mm-hmm. After their father, Dr. Mayo, was 70, he left most of the work at the hospital to Dr. Will and Dr. Charlie. At last, his patients were well looked after, and he had time to do something else that he had always enjoyed doing. What do you suppose that was? I like the witch doctor. There's a fucking witch doctor in the gallery.
Every kind of doctor you can imagine. You got the
fez doctor,
giant,
the turbaned doctor,
a tall leprechaun.
I don't know what that dude's supposed to be. Like he looks like a face on Easter Island.
And it's Adolf Hitler is the patient. You look in the mirror.
The witch doctor, man.
He's so happy to be there.
It's so funny.
Oh. Thank God the witch doctor will be able to return to his tribe with advanced surgical techniques.
So what do we think that Dr. Mayo really wanted to do?
At 70 years old?
At 70 years old, he liked to travel. He wanted to go travel. He'd been fucking stuck in a hospital for 70 years or whatever.
I haven't had fun my entire life. I want to go to Monte Carlo.
So most of the time, Dr. and Mrs. Mayo traveled just for fun. But when he was in far-off lands, old doctors sometimes visited other doctors and saw their hospitals. Whenever he saw something new that might help people, he told Will and Charlie about it as soon as he got home. Back in Rochester, things were getting pretty crowded at the little building the Mayo used for a clinic. So, you see Dr. and Mrs. Mayo finally fucking off over the globe.
Yeah, they're off on their adventures, and now there's a giant line of people here to talk to Will and Charlie and their scissors.
Whoa, look at all these people, Dr. Will said one day when the waiting room was especially full. There seems to be more people every day. We really need a bigger clinic, said Dr. Charlie. I want to talk to you about that, said Dr. Will. Come to my office. You can come too, True Sides.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. So he's inviting. We have a lot of money these days, said Dr. Will when they were in his office. We've never turned anyone away because he had no money. None of our patients has ever borrowed money to pay bills, and we still have all this money. It's more than we need to live on, said Dr. Charlie. It surely is, agreed Dr. Will, and it doesn't seem to me that the purpose of our clinic is to make money. It's to take care of people. So why don't we find a way to share the money with the people who are sick? We can build a new building, said Dr. Charlie.
Hell yeah, comrade. I am all about their socialized medicine plans.
Yep. So Will and Charlie took their own fucking money and built a hospital. The Mayo Brothers did build a larger clinic. Then for 20 more years, they kept saving. $1 out of every $2 they made was saved and invested to share later with people that were ill. When they felt they had had enough, the brothers went to see the head of the University of Minnesota. So
that's all pretty groovy.
Yeah, so every dollar that the clinic made, another dollar was to help their patients, which is pretty fucking rad. My brother and I have $2 million, Dr. Will told the university president. We would like to give it to the university to help students and young doctors who want to study medicine at our clinic.
More sharing.
Yep. So they took their money and...
So first we have the socialized medicine, now socialized education. They want to fund kids going to medical school.
Yep. What a wonderful gift, said the surprised man. You want to... Yeah, I'd be surprised too if it was have $2 million in the 1800s, which is a buttload of money.
Do you not know this is America and you're supposed to be a greedy fuck?
Yeah, he was like, I'm so surprised. You're going to give us money?
Yeah, these guys are like, yeah, socialized, like, for-profit medicine just seems evil, and we want to go to heaven.
Yeah, but why are you doing this, said the surprised man. Sometimes people don't understand, said Dr. Charlie, but it is really very simple. It makes us feel good when we share what we have with others.
Also, this pair of magic scissors said it would jam itself into our skulls unless we gave away all of our money.
Can you imagine how proud True Sides felt? He was prouder still when the young doctors came from all over the world to study at the Mayo Clinic. Most of them stayed for 3 years, then went back to their hometowns. Others stayed to help out with the clinic. That's great, Dr. Charlie. More and more doctors are helping more and more people. Although this is a busy, happy time, there was one person who was prouder of the Mayo Brothers than anyone else. She had watched the 2 little Mayo boys grow up into 2 fine men. Can you guess who she was? It was their mother.
Oh, well, then I would have been correct in my guess, because she's the only actual woman in this story.
Yep. Mrs. Mayo was over 80, and she still read medical journals, just as she had read them for her husband. But now she looked for articles for Dr. Will Mayo and Dr. Charles Mayo, and often she found such articles. Her sons shared their knowledge by writing more than 1,000 papers for medical magazines.
Turns out drinking mercury's bad for you.
Yeah, and don't give it as actual medicine. I wonder why this medicine keeps killing all these people. But Dr. Will and Dr. Charlie were quite humble men. I feel uncomfortable when people treat me as if I were special. Dr. Will always said, and Dr. Charlie declared that the biggest reason they succeeded was that they picked the right parents. Oh.
It's those good old Minnesota down-home values.
Here, look. The building's giving them a hug.
Being hugged by, like, the White House?
I think it's the White House. I'm not sure, because that's 2 eyes.
But a big white columned building is hugging them in appreciation.
Yes,
that's
with
nice.
Crowds and crowds and crowds of people.
So parents lived to be old as shit for the like at this
for
point,
their time period.
At this point, early 1900s.
Yeah, because they keep reading medical journals and staying away from the mercury.
Yeah.
They know how to kill germs. They wash their hands and shit.
Yeah, no, they wash their hands and lived an extra 20 years.
But the boys remembered what True Side said. Sharing is more than giving. Sharing is receiving, too. So the Mayo brothers accepted the praise and honors, and they were grateful. No matter how many honors and they warmly received, the Mayo brothers' greatest joy came from something else. It came from seeing some of the very best doctors in the world come to the little town of Rochester. Some of them stayed on in order to be a part of the Mayo Clinic. Today, people still come from all over the world to be helped by the doctors at the clinic. The Mayos shared their knowledge, their experience, and their money. They always felt happy when they saw the good that came from their sharing.
And if they could look into the future of what healthcare would be in the United States, they would have been horrified and wept tears and wailed in misery, because everything about our country and the way we handle healthcare is the opposite of what these 2 righteous dudes believed.
Right. And look, it's like we've got planes and boats.
The Empire State Building is happy to see them.
They're not
There's
even
a
in here.
Zeppelin.
It's weird.
Blimps are coming from all over to see the Mayo Brothers.
Of course, not everyone has the same things to share. You may not have much money. You probably don't have a microscope.
Some of us only have an annoying podcast.
You probably don't need a microscope if you really want to get down to it. I'm pushing 50 and I have never
owned. I owned a microscope back in the day.
I've never had need of a microscope, Jerry. Granted, I'm not a doctor.
I had a young nerd science kit.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like seeing shit in microscopes, but I've never personally owned one. You may not even want to share what you have with anyone.
Yeah, fuck.
That's pretty much, yeah. That's for you to decide. See, because it's about choice. But if you do choose to give something to someone else or accept what others are giving you, you may also discover something very important about yourself. You may discover that sharing makes you feel happy, just as it did for our friends, the Mayo Brothers. I guess that's a statue.
The statue of them and their scissors.
And their scissors. The end.
So we honor Dr. Will and Charlie.
Yep. So that was the Mayo Brothers.
Yeah, I mean...
They're pretty righteous.
I'm
into it.
They're so wholesomely Midwest. There's not really a lot of controversial stuff about them. They just seem to be really good people who left a mark on the world. Even people who've never heard of the Mayo Brothers know what the Mayo Clinic is to this very day because
Yeah, people still go to the Mayo Clinic. It is a very important teaching hospital.
But yeah, it just does make me sad now that their view of medicine is that it belongs, that everyone should be able to get help and not have to worry about paying it. It's like, maybe we could have learned something from these guys. Like, not just the practice of medicine, but the business of it. And maybe it doesn't belong as a for-profit business.
Yep. So now I'm going to the historical facts page.
The pre-Wikipedia biography page.
William James Mayo, 1861 to 1939, and Charles Horace Mayo, 1865 to 1939.
Yeah, I know they died like 6 months apart.
Yeah. So, the Mayo brothers were able to share a great many things with each other during their lifetimes. There were only 2 brothers of 5 children born to Louisa Abigail Wright and William Worrell Mayo.
Boy, they had 3 sisters, and they didn't even, not even a mention in this kid's book.
Not a fucking one.
Yeah, who cares about girls? Girls don't matter.
Oh, yeah. Well, they also have wives and children that also
irrelevant.
Irrelevant people.
Only magic scissors. Magic scissors, and also going to the circus for no fucking reason.
For no fucking reason.
And learning nothing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was so frustrated when I got to that page.
An artist must have drawn most of that circus scene, and then they're like, shit, we gotta use this for something.
While the boys enjoyed their sisters Gertrude, Phoebe, and Sarah, the boys were drawn to each other in a very special way. That seems weird. Wow, historical facts, where are we going?
It's like, meanwhile, their sister sounds like a coven of witches.
The boy's father was born in England and came to America in 1845 at the age of 26, after graduating from the University of Missouri Medical School in 1854.
Oh, so he must have had a cool British accent.
Marrying and having 3 daughters, he settled into the pioneer village of Le Sueur, Minnesota. That's all you're getting. That's what I got from you people.
Sure, whatever.
You know, and if you guys are, if Minnesotans are mad, sorry about that.
Sorry
about that. There he became the proud father of his first son, Will. As a doctor in the Army near the end of the Civil War, Dr. Mayo Sr. moved his family in 1863 to the site of the district recruiting station in Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh, so he was a Civil War doctor for the Union.
Yup.
Cool. Awesome.
Where his second son, Charlie, was born. So he was born at a
Army recruitment center.
It was here. He was to share his medical knowledge with his sons, and they with the world. So, goddamn, they didn't just start working in a medical hospital. They started working in a fucking, Civil War Army hospital.
Army field hospital. Again, yes.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, he was watching Dad saw people's legs and shit.
Yeah, and that's without the ether.
Yeah.
Will and Charlie grew up at the same time that the surgery itself was growing up.
When anesthesia was, here, bite down on this.
Well, this time they were just starting to learn about the ether. So.
Which they became big fans of.
Yeah, everybody became big fans of the ether. Because no one wants to be awake for surgery, and giving people alcohol as an anesthetic also makes you bleed profusely.
Except the problem with ether was it did have a lot of times some people would still be conscious but completely paralyzed and unable to do anything. And it wasn't until a doctor himself experienced that they believed patients who said it and started looking for other types of anesthesia because ether ruled the day back in the day.
Right. Charlie Mayo was born in 1865, the same year that Sir Joseph Lester first announced the success of his carbolic spray method for controlling surgical infections. Louis Pasteur was still trying to convince most of the medical world that germs were actually the cause of an infection. A year after Charlie was born, the clinical thermometer first came into use, and 3 years later, the first wooden stethoscope was introduced.
So they were born just right at the time when being a doctor started to resemble what we think of as doctors, with a stethoscope and a thermometer and cleaning your fucking
Yeah, they
tools.
were like, hey, we can use this mercury for something else. Who knew? So, Dr. Mayo, then near 52 years old, was determined that he and his boys would grow with the medical times. In 1871, he left his remote Minnesota village to update his knowledge and skills at a New York Bellevue hospital. He became one of the first doctors in the country to use a microscope in his practice.
So that's pretty cool. So he's in his 50s, and he's like, I am not going to be stuck in my career and my knowledge. So he was acting like a young man trying to learn, even in his 50s, because he got, I guess, having these boys.
Because he was traumatized by the Civil War, Jamie. He was like, wow, all these motherfuckers. I love
operating and people trying to save them and then just watching them die horribly.
Yeah.
Right afterwards.
Horrible infections after you've cut off their limbs while they're screaming. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, there's got to be a better way. And there was.
So.
Cool.
Thumbs up. It seemed natural that both boys would become doctors because grooming. Will graduated from the University of Michigan Medical School in 1883, and Charlie from the Chicago Medical School in 1888, 1 year later.
Once you've held an ether-soaked rag over somebody's mouth, and while their dad cuts them open,
when you're like 8.
Like nothing's going to scratch that particular itch again.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand, it's like, you're like ether, but at least it was very calming for the doctors.
I'm feeling super groovy while I'm cutting you open.
Well, it's like I would feel less afraid cutting somebody open if they weren't screaming at me. So, 1 year later, St. Mary's Hospital was opened with 40 beds and 3 Mayo physicians.
The future Mayo Clinic.
A 70-year-old father and his 2 sons. And as we know, their nearby medical office became the beginning of the cornerstone of medicine, the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Brothers were scientists and humanitarians. They published over 1,000 scientific papers about their work in medical journals. What they didn't tell many people, however, was what they did behind the scenes for less fortunate people they cared for. As many as 30% of their patients were surprised and relieved to find the handwritten words paid in full in the Mayo's bills which they could not have otherwise afford. And regardless of how much money the patients had, no one was ever cared for than more 10% of his or her annual income, no matter how expensive the treatment. And every dollar they collected on bills, over $1,000 went to help other sick people.
And even doing all that, they made millions of dollars, and we're like, we don't need this money. No, these guys are my kind of dudes.
Yep. They were very close during more than 70 years of life, and when they were almost inseparable in death. When Dr. Charlie unexpectedly died of pneumonia on May 26, 1939, Will, who was already ill, became lonely and lost. Without his brother and teammate, life didn't seem as important to him. What they don't say is that he had stomach cancer. He was dying. He was dying no matter how his brother died. So it might have bummed him out, but it wasn't like, I cannot live.
He was already on the way out.
Yeah, he was not.
But I do know they're close. I seem to remember like they used to end their days on rocking chairs next to each other, hanging out and talking. So I was like, these brothers were like super mega close.
Yup. So yeah, Dr. Will died quietly on July 28th, 1939, only 2 months after Dr. Charlie. So they died 2 months apart. As successful as they had been as surgeons, it is also said that the real success was probably his brothers. However, one of them was signaled out for an honor by a medical society, a university, or government. They would each begin to accept any honor with the same 4 words, my brother and I. So that was the Mayo Brothers. Yeah. They're pretty groovy.
Pretty cool. If only the whole medical industry had taken a note about the whole people shouldn't be forced to pay more than is reasonable.
Yeah, well, insurance used to be for nonprofit.
Well, medicine shouldn't, it
used to be,
at all. So these guys had the right idea on all of it, and yeah, they seem pretty cool.
Yep, I approve, Mayo Brothers.
Now, this book has a few unhinged bits. A little freak Chris in there. Once again, you have to have an imaginary friend, because all of these books do. And this time it's lame, a pair of scissors.
Well, Louis Pasteur didn't have an imaginary friend.
Oh yeah,
he just fought microscopic, crazy-looking germs.
Yeah, that's right, Louis Pasteur. But we didn't start with him as a kid. We started with him.
Yeah, he was
already a scruffy
really
old
different.
man. It was a different style.
So yeah, if we wanted to do the trifecta of connecting, we've done Louis Pasteur, we've done Mayo Brothers, and I'm sitting here looking at Will Rogers, so that could happen.
And this was written by series creator Spencer Johnson,
Yep.
MD, himself a medical
MD.
doctor, I assume, who admired the Mayo Brothers quite a bit.
I mean, if you're going to be a doctor, I think you should admire the Mayo Brothers quite a bit. And if you don't, you're an asshole.
Even if, he did write in that nonsensical circus scene in the middle of the book for no reason at all.
No, I mean, it was unhinged, but, I don't take any... I love that they tried to make it multicultural in Minnesota.
I can appreciate a story about siblings who are close and friendly and working on working on a project together,
Yeah. Granted, our parents didn't groom us from womb to do it, but, whatever.
Well, that's the Super Mayo Brothers. The Mushroom Kingdom is safe. This is Chainsaw History, and we're signing off.
Bye.
Medicare for all.